Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show. Whether you're watching on YouTube or some other video platform or listening via podcast, this is episode 111. Who knew when I started this that we'd get to 111 episodes? In this week's episode, I discuss two practical ways that you can leave a job you hate even when you don't believe you can afford to do so. I urge you not to be stuck in a job or career that you hate. You pay a really big price if you leave yourself in such a state. These two alternative ways have lots of nuances and alternatives depending on your special circumstances. And they can be applied in many, many different ways. Of course, if you do leave a job or career that you hate, where are you going to go? What do you really, really want to do? Is there something? Or you know you hate what you're doing, but you don't know where you want to go. So if you're not sure, one of the first things to do is to work on what it is that you really, really want to do. Now, you might have a young adult in your family in this situation, or a friend. Many of them sit around, they don't know what they want to do, but nor do they know how to go about working out what they want to do. This show is designed to help young adults also think about the price they pay when they don't do the work to figure out what they want to do. Help yourself and your loved ones to wake up every day with the thought, what a beautiful morning. For regular viewers and listeners, we have changed the format of this show, so you get into the content rapidly. The foundational principles of the Charles Kovess Show and more details about my background are now contained at the end of each week's unique content. And a further change, my review of what's happened in the world of note in the past week and in my life in the past week is now contained after the big idea discussion. So let's get into the big idea. It's my research over the last 28 years, plus my 50 plus years in business, that most people are not passionate about their work or about their career or about their job. I think this is a tragedy. Are you passionate about your job? Your career? If not, why do you keep doing it? If you had lots of money in the bank, would you stay doing that job? No, you wouldn't. You'd go out and explore some options. So let me give you two alternative ways to solve this dilemma of leaving a job or career you hate when you can't afford to do so, and discuss all of the different nuances and variations and subways, you like that, subways, that you can apply these two principles. First, think about your attitude, your philosophy about building up your assets, working hard, building assets. Do you do that so that your end goal is fulfilled of dying rich and leaving it all to your family or for posterity? Or do you build up assets so that you have options to be able to use those assets? If your philosophy is the second, so you build up assets so that you can use them so that you have options, then the first way to leave a job you hate is to sell your assets, sell your home, rent a house, get capital to be able to shift your career, get capital so that you can re-educate yourself to pursue what you really, really want to do. Reduce your assets. My belief is that we build up assets so that it enables us to have those options. When circumstances change, as they are in these changing times, You need to keep reinventing yourself rather than being stuck in a dead-end role. But if your whole goal is to keep building up assets, you'll have to pursue the second alternative. But in this first alternative, you have these assets, they can disappear in a flash. My suggestion is you reduce your assets and reinvent yourself, and stop saying to yourself you can't afford to do this. Yes, you can if you have assets. If you are so trapped in the security mindset, the fear mindset, then you'll have to go the second route. And the second route is to keep your existing job initially, keep your assets, work 40 hours a week in the job you hate, and understand that you can work another 30 to 40 hours a week on creating a new job, a new career, a new possibility for yourself. Stop having this idea that you only work 40 hours a week. I don't. I work 70 hours a week on average. If you work an extra 30 hours a week, it's remarkable what you could achieve whilst maintaining the security of the income of your existing job. And what will happen miraculously is when you know you are building towards a new job, a new career, a new income source, your stress about being in an unhappy place reduces. Now, you might say, I can't work another 30 hours. I say, yes, you can, because you have 168 hours in a week. If you work 70 hours a week and sleep 50 hours a week, that's 7 hours a night, that's 120 hours. You still have 48 hours a week. You still have another 7 hours a day to do whatever you want to do, to look after kids, to do the necessities of life, to exercise. Most people have vast amounts of time and they waste it. Now, the other reason why they waste it is because they're unhealthy. So this whole show is to provoke you to become ever more healthy so that you have the energy to be able to effectively work for 70 hours a week. Now, there's another truism here that your job you hate is sucking the energy out of your life. And when you are working on your new job, your new career, that will energize you generally, mentally and spiritually. And when you are you are no longer working in a dead-end job. Your perspective around your job you hate that is giving you the fuel today to reinvent yourself for tomorrow. You have plenty of time to work 70 hours a week, and when you shift your mindset in this way, it becomes the motivator, the driver for you to get incredibly healthy, so you have vast amounts of energy. And remember the definition of passion. It's a source of unlimited energy from your soul, your spirit, your heart, that enables you to work in such a way. And then when you're pursuing this second option, there are so many ways to do that. You can develop a whole new business online these days, no matter where you are in the world. You can become a middleman for selling coffee. Here I am. With the internet today, you can develop a global business with the insights that you have to trade one resource to other people and get profit in between. You can become a copywriter, an online copywriter. When you learn marketing skills, when you learn internet skills, there are so many problems that you can solve. And at the end of the day, people will pay you for solving their problems. So what problems do you see that need to be solved? And you then start pursuing a vast range of ways in which you can do that. There is not just one way. So the two big alternatives are reduce your assets and fund your new job, set up a new business, be an entrepreneur, but not everyone's suited to be an entrepreneur. So the second alternative is to stay in your existing job and work an extra 20, 30, 40 hours a week on top of your job to create your new business opportunity, your new career, your new qualifications to qualify you for another role that you might have decided you are now really passionate about. In the first alternative, I had a friend who was an auditor, and he thought he wanted to be a doctor. Well, he had the resources. He could have sold his assets and then gone to medical school for 6 years. Okay, that's what I mean by selling your assets to establish a new career. And then that requires a mindset that says, okay, I built my assets up, and then going to a lower a lower asset base is okay, because life is not about just building up more and more and more assets. That's a fear mindset. I say to you, there is always a way not to be stuck in a job you hate. And a big motivator is to work out what it is that you really, really, really want to do. Because when you figure that out, the fuel that makes available to you mentally and spiritually will enable you to overcome the obstacles, will enable you to handle the mistakes that you will inevitably make in pursuing this game plan. And the excitement of pursuing something you want to do is so energizing. So reimagine your future. Reimagine what life would be like, waking up every morning and looking forward to what you're going to be doing. Understand the price you pay for doing a job you hate. That deep understanding will be the fuel that drives you to pursue one of the two alternatives I've laid out for you, with the remarkable range of subways that apply to your circumstances. So, some resources to help you on this. The song, of course. So you wake up every morning with the thought, what a beautiful morning. In fact, it's a song by the Rascals, A Beautiful Morning. It's a beautiful morning. I think I'll go outside for a while and just smile, just take in some clean, fresh air. Boy, no sense in staying inside. If the weather's fine and you've got the time, it's your chance to wake up and plan another brand new day. What a way to wake up every morning. Play that song. It's a beautiful morning. Woohoo! My spiritual tip is, in the context of what's happening in the world, is to find communities that you would love to be a part of and start to play a part in those communities. I think there's significant disruption coming on the planet by a globalist agenda, by a great reset agenda, and local communities will learn that being together with people you know, you can create a way of surviving any disruption. But if you are alone, if you're in a tiny little group, the chances you impose on, you are reducing your chances of thriving in challenging, changing times. What community do you want to be a part of, where you freely give of yourself, where you give of your soul, of your spirit, because you want to be part of that community, not from a fear perspective, but from a connection perspective? My health tip for you, it's one I've said before, but repetition is the mother of learning. And sometimes I need to repeat this because I forget many health principles. And so that's why I keep reading, to keep reminding myself. Repetition is the mother of learning. So I urge you to every day have hemp seeds and hemp seed oil on your salads. You don't cook with hemp seed oil, but it's incredibly healthy, life-giving for you, and hemp seeds. My book for you. This is to help you find, or in fact today I've got two books, what it is that you really, really want to do. And it's a famous a series of books called What Color is My Parachute? Readily available. What color is my parachute? Lots of guides online for that. And the second book, of course, is my book, Passionate People Produce. That's what that book is all about, inspiring you to think about, gosh, how do I discover what I am passionate about? If you haven't read my book, I urge you to do so. My quote is by Steve Irwin, the crocodile hunter who died some years ago from an accident. While he was doing his nature stuff, he got stabbed in the heart accidentally by a stingray while he was underwater. But he was a truly passionate man, and he had this great quote. Fear helps me from making mistakes, but I make lots of mistakes. Isn't that a great idea? Fear helps me to stop making mistakes, but I make lots of mistakes. So you have to make mistakes as you develop on this journey, and your awareness around the possibility of those mistakes helps you make better decisions. But to be terrified of making mistakes is so disempowering. Your learning will slow down so much, and in changing times, your ability to keep learning and developing yourself requires you to make mistakes. But don't make stupid mistakes. So fear can help us make useful mistakes rather than stupid mistakes. And my spot of humour today. Now, one of the laws that is sold to us by our society, other than the fact that coffee is good for you, one of the laws is, live life in a way where you come from preserving your security. Don't lose your assets. You can't afford to lose your assets. Stay in the job you hate. That is a law that I reject, as you obviously know. But then it made me think of what other laws might be funny to explore. Well, what about the law of avoiding oversell? When putting cheese in a mousetrap, always leave room for the mouse. What about the law of common sense? Never accept a drink from a urologist. What about the law of reality? Never get into fights with ugly people. They have nothing to lose. What about the law of impossibility? Nothing is impossible for the man who doesn't have to do it himself. The law of motivation. Creativity is great, but plagiarism is faster. The law of drunkenness. You can't fall off the floor, but you can hold onto the grass and try not to fall off the edge of the world. Love it. And lastly, remember the difference between a good lawyer and a great lawyer. A good lawyer knows the law. A great lawyer knows the judge. So, what laws trap you from pursuing a life that you want to pursue? Think about how today's big idea can make a huge difference in your life or in the life of those around you, your friends, your family members who are trapped in jobs they hate. Living such a life absolutely stops you from becoming who you're capable of becoming. My aim for this show is to provoke you, to inspire you, to motivate you, to examine your life, and to do so for the rest of your life, to constantly raise your level of self-awareness, to be constantly asking the question, what is my life about? I invite you to subscribe to this YouTube, to the podcast, to visit our websites, covest.com for corporate programs, public programs, and charlescovest.com for details about the self-awareness and passion quest. Sign up for Passion Points to Ponder. You can buy my books, Passionate People Produce Passionate Performance, on each of those websites. You are capable of so much, and I'm delighted that you join us on this show, whether watching or listening, and I hope it reminds you each week to rejuvenate your desire to keep exploring the amazing capabilities of which you are capable. So let's review now what's happened quickly of note in the world and in my life, and some of that might include Julie as well. We've had the federal election in Australia. So the existing government was tipped out. There's now a left government, Labor, in association with the Greens, who, well, actually Labor will probably, it's a bit marginal, will probably just have a majority in the lower house. In the upper house, it's still in the Senate, that's still to be sorted out. But we're going to see some different action now from government. The amazing thing is the reduction in votes for the two major parties. And it reminds me of, you know what an erection dysfunction is, but what about electile dysfunction? Electile dysfunction is the inability to be aroused by the policies of any of the parties. Did you suffer from electile dysfunction during this federal election in Australia, or indeed in any country where you're listening to this? It'll be interesting to see the Liberal Party, the Conservative centre-right, theoretically, they've been violently moving to the left, and I've been opposed to both Liberal and Labor in this country for their trampling on human freedoms. I will continue to do so. I think preserving our freedoms is a crucial element. So I don't think it makes a great deal of difference in Australia. Liberals used to say they're better economic managers. I no longer believe that. We've got $1 trillion in debt. The monkeypox has arrived. I say nonsense. The World Health Organization capitulation during the week was not a total capitulation, because they've still got their grand plans to have global control, to declare a pandemic when they want, but the awareness around the evil plans of the World Health Organization that I wouldn't trust, and I urge you not to trust for a moment, are certainly being brought out into the open, and it's slowing down its ability to succeed in those plans. I'm pleased about that. I observed lots of suddenitis, people dying from suddenitis. Suddenly they're dying. I wonder what they're dying from. In Australia, the medical system, the ambulances, hospitals, absolutely struggling. Why? Because a lot of people are leaving the profession, and you know why. There's going to be hell to pay about the number of people who are dying from suddenitis who can't get proper care. That's what happens when you start trampling on people's freedoms. There's food system chaos globally in many places, not yet in Australia, but prices of everything are going up. It's all manipulated. That's why you need to become masters of your own destiny. Ukraine is not causing food shortages. In America, farmers are being paid not to grow food. You need to be aware of that. The whole global game of climate change and the threats to our existence, and do your own research on that. I reject the nonsense that human behaviour is causing radical changes to the climate. I support Bjorn Lomborg of the Copenhagen Institute view that there are 40 out of the 50 ways to improve circumstances for us on the planet. The 50th is to reduce CO2 levels, greenhouse gas emissions. There are 49 better things to do. Look up the Copenhagen Institute. But of course, I would be called a climate denier. I'm all in favour of sustainability, but inform yourself. Don't be sucked in by the idea that we've got to get rid of all these power generations so we have wind and solar, and in the meantime cause mayhem, cause many deaths. There'll be many people die if there's insufficient energy. But guess what will happen? Those with money, the richest people, will not suffer from those incredibly increasing prices as a consequence of an unwarranted restructuring of lives. And lastly, while all this is going on, I continue to be passionately pursuing many pursuits, fighting for your freedoms, for my freedoms, and and working with Julie and Julie Parker, Practice Success, helping dental practices become more successful, coaching clients, legal strategy. There's so much going on. It's a beautiful life, despite all these challenges, because imagine if there were no challenges to overcome, how boring it would all be. So, that's about it. If you're new to the show, stick around for the last part where I share our foundational principles and more background about me if you don't know it. Again, thanks for being with us. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Until our next show, may your week be full of passion, of embracing challenge, of learning, of fun, of fulfillment, and ever-increasing self-awareness. See you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops, over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Kovess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, It reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@covest.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.